Vibrato. Let's talk about vibrato. What is vibrato? Well, turns out if you do any research, you're going to find out that there's a lot of controversy about a lot of people saying what they think it is and what's right and what isn't. And I'm going to break this down for you and go through all the different types of vibrato in a second. But the very first thing I want to talk about is what I know for a fact vibrato is compared to what everyone else says. They don't know what it is. They think it's X. Okay? Vibrato first is a strongly supported, diaphragmatically supported relaxation response to a well-placed vowel that you place a vowel really strong with a support, a relaxation response. You place the vowel into a relaxation response of oscillation, where it oscillates, right? Into resonance, where when it oscillates, because of the relaxation response, it resonates and gets bigger and bigger on its own without pressure, without pushing, without force or anything. Now, I want you to envision, let's envision like a heart monitor. And you go, beep, 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 right? You have this sort of thing. Let's assume the heart's going beep, 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 right? Okay, so that's oscillation, right? Now, there's a lot of conjecture of whether or not that a vibrato, or a good form of vibrato, should oscillate upwards, beep, right? Or downwards, beep. So now listen to what I just said. If it's true that vibrato is a strongly supported relaxation response to a well-placed vowel or a whole tone, relaxing into a state of oscillation and creating resonance, there's no way it could oscillate above the flat line. Here's what I mean. So people say, okay, so Freddie Mercury, for example, his vibrato was above the flat line. So if you like his vibrato, I'm not dissing his vibrato. I'm just talking about a natural state of vibrato. And we're going to get into this in a minute about different types of vibrato. And they all have value. So I'm not saying it is, but from a natural vibrato perspective, it's a relaxation response. When everything's working and you finally hit that cool amphitheater note and let me give you an example of this real quick. Let's say I'm gonna sing E, a high E, well into the soprano range, and I'm going to support it really well, and I'm going to relax into it. And when you see me relax into this, I'm not going to push any harder, but you're going to hear resonance take over from a relaxation response. So I go, right? All of a sudden, I'm able, by the way, it's pretty effortless. I'm not killing myself to get to that sound. It's because I know the valve, so I had a strongly supported abdominal, supported diaphragmatic support, into a relaxation response from my chest, my neck, and my throat, and it was placed. I'm not pushing any harder. I'm not killing myself to get into the vowel. I'm just relaxing into the vowel. And when resonance takes over, it becomes big and the room starts to shake. My guitar strings start to ring because I've been able to relax into this state of oscillation, right? Now, so if there's all these, conjectures and arguments about what's good vibrato and what isn't, I'm going to talk about these as we go along. So the very first thing is, that's a great vibrato. I just relaxed it. By the way, I didn't kill you. I didn't, I'm not killing you with a bunch of vibrato every time I hit a note, boom, 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 vibrato. Because I don't believe in that either. In the classical world, in bel canto, arpeggio, everything is, everything is just like tons of vibrato. I believe vibrato should be kind of sexy. It should be kind of used sparingly, and it should be rolled into as, again, just a relaxation response from a strongly supported whole tone relaxing into a state of oscillation, okay? And they sound like big words, and I'm trying to break them down. Hopefully they're not too big, but that you understand what I mean by this. So I'm going to break down the different kinds of vibratos, because vibrato is cool and can be used in all kinds of different ways, and I'll demonstrate different versions of this. But so understand, if it is truly a relaxation response, it can't possibly oscillate above the flat line. It can be, it can't do that, because if it's relaxed, it'd be, right? It would go underneath the flat line in a relaxation response. And I'm going to get to this in a minute because we're going to discuss these and we're going to practice a few things and how to get it, how to mean, what it means to have vibrato, how to obtain it, how to grow it naturally. Now, I've also seen some other weird stuff that says, well, vibrato is really natural and you don't have to work at it and it just comes naturally. What a lie. That's so stinking stupid. Everything we do, we work at, right? So it's not one day as a baby I came out and go, wah, wah, wah. No, it's malarkey. However, there is a point where that does become a natural response. But there are things that we can do to work at it, to grow it and have it manifest and understand and determine our own personal vibrato, because everyone's vibrato is different and the width of the vibrato is different. And we'll get into this in a minute about how big it is. Like there could be about hey or hey or hey, different, speeds of vibrato, so to speak, right? And some are unhealthy and some aren't. I'm going to talk about that too in a minute. But so understand, guys, so it's a flat line. If it's true, and by the way, Elton John, his vibrato is above the flat line. There's lots of really amazing singers and talented people whose vibrato goes above the flat line, right? However, true natural vibrato doesn't. It is hey. It's just beautiful and sexy and simple. And when it breaks in, it's like the moment of a phrase that you're closing on. Or sometimes you're using it in a bit. So you love me, darling. There's certain times you can use it in and out of different phrases and stuff, so it doesn't have to like be slow rolling and then kind of come into a state of oscillation. We'll talk about that again too in a second. So I want to go through the different types of vibrato. The very first one I'm going to discuss is pharyngeal and laryngeal vibrato, but pharynx vibrato. So sometimes people go, and they create it in the throat, right? And it's like a gyration, like, one of those balls that you shake up in your hand, it goes in the throat. Unnatural, unhealthy, not beautiful. There's just no way around it. I don't love the sound of that. Even though sometimes I love a raised laryngeal position for singers. Sometimes if I hear, baby, when I think about you, I think about love. Sometimes, tempted by the fruit of another. Sometimes I like the sound of a raised laryngeal position, even in the vibrato with that. Not overdone, but it can be a cool, sexy, fun sound too. However, it's not natural, and if it's overdone, it's just annoying and just sounds like someone's, got someone's hand around their throat or something, so to speak. Now, there's trill vibrato. Trill is kind of funny because trill is like, hee, hee. It's like, think of if you have piano notes and you're toggling between two notes, hee, so and it's usually above the fold or above this flat line I'm talking about. So, right? Funky, not beautiful. A lot of opera people gravitate towards this, and supposedly it's okay for them. I don't love that sound. Is it natural, and is it a relaxation response? No, it's a contrived thing that someone's trying to do to create a relaxation response. So that's not natural. The next one would be caprino vibrato or goat's wiggle, or like the sound of a go, like Stevie Nicks, for example, I'm standing in a line, wah, you dirty wabbit, right? That's not a beautiful sound. However, in defense of that, it's her style, and there's a lot of people that have that kind of vibrato. I'm not going to diss it. It's their style. It's a stylistic thing. I'll give you one example of this that's kind of cool. I actually happen to like Manhattan Transfer from way back in the day. And they had, talk about the boy from New York City, they'll say, he's kind of tall, these fast kind of, I call it trumpet stab vibratos. Well, that's for effect. She's not doing that because she's relaxing into a state of oscillation. She's doing it for an effect, That's different than something that goes, that has no control over their vibrato. She has absolute control over her vibrato, and she's using it specifically. So she's using it very specifically as like a trumpet stab. So again, let's not confuse the trumpet stab vibrato for caprino vibrato, which is an unhealthy sound that most people have when they're first trying to do vibrato. And we're going to break that down because most people use caprino vibrato thinking that's their natural registration vibrato and a register vibrato. And then I'm going to show you how to slow that down and create your own natural vibrato as a result. Wobble. There's wobble vibrato. You know, like what's it? The lion in what's a Disney movie or not Disney, whatever. You know, you know, I'm the lion, Leo the lion or whatever it was. I forget it was Wizard of Oz. Thank you. Sorry, Wizard of Oz. You know, we don't want that. We're not interested in that. Now, what's interesting about the wobble and the diaphragmatic vibrato is they kind of are the same. Now, the wobble in the throat is whoa, and it's in the throat, whereas diaphragmatic vibrato is similar, but it happens in the diaphragm. So whoa, where the diaphragm's kind of pumping, and it's doing the vibrato for whoa, you know, whoa, you know, it's this big, huge, you know, vibrato, wide vibrato. Now let's talk about the width of this in between these things. So we talked about caprino, which is brrr. We talked about wobble, woo. We talked about tremolo, right? They're different, but they're similar. In fact, let me give you an example of tremolo vibrato. So if you listen to like Aaron Neville, you know, ha, ha, ha. You know, he has a beautiful vibrato, very sexy vibrato. He uses it for effect. The Bee Gees did the same thing. How can you make a broken heart? It's contrived, but it's cool for their sound. You know, it's their sound. They're the Bee Gees. I'm only Ken Tamplin. They're awesome. You know what I mean? So I'm not dissing these things. I'm just trying to point out what's natural, what's good, what's healthy, what isn't. And you can use them all, and I do it all the time in different songs and different approaches. Again, it's our toolbox, and the more we bring into our toolbox, the more we understand this, the more we can use this for certain things. Elvis, you know, really kind of in the throat, a little bit of laryngeal vibrato, a little diaphragmatic sometimes, a little caprino at times because it's really fast, right? We could go on and on and on and talk about this. In fact, Luther Vandross, you know, he uses a little bit of tremolo, right? Luther Vandross, listen to some, but in an amazing way, but he still uses some tremolo. Gospel jaw, you know, and I will always love you. Steve Perry, you know, when the lights go down in the city. Right? Sometimes too, when I'm hanging a note and I want that sound, I'll do that too. I'll use it for effect. I do it often. It's not that I'm going back on my word. Ken, you said that's, you know, you're not supposed to. No, I'll use like gospel jaw. It's called gospel jaw vibrato. Sometimes I'll use it for effect because it's a certain sound that I'm looking to recreate or represent. Doesn't mean it's my default for that. But a natural vibrato, which is really important, we're going to get to this now, and we're going to take whatever your vibrato is, and let's assume it's caprino, so fast, because most people have a fast vibrato, and they're you want to take a whole tone, start flatline, go underneath the flatline, and you want to speed it up to where it feels natural in the throat. So, by the way, it's going to feel a little contrived at first, and we're going to do a couple exercises. One is called the ghosting exercise, but you want that vibrato. Right? Now, when you're practicing this, ladies, this is true for you too, practice in your lower register first, because it's easier to try to understand how to do this when your throat is more relaxed. Don't go and try to sing higher in your registration. So guys, let's bring you down here. So, I want you to practice this on your own, not just with me. And you'll notice that as you're able to take and kind of force the throat to kind of, go in and out instead of la. We don't want that. We don't want shaking or any of that. La. By the way, too, the lighter you are on the sound, the easier it is to relax first. And then you're going to freak out because all of a sudden, here's what's going to happen. And we're going to do some exercises in this in just a second. But you're going to go, I had it for a minute, or I had it for a second. I felt it. And then all of a sudden it kind of goes away because you lose it. But the more you do it, the more we practice it, it isn't something we were born with. We're able to I don't say contrive, but to grow this. And by the way, two more things about this. It's not that this isn't a natural state of oscillation. The throat's going to want to do this on its own. So once you hit this sweet spot of your vibrato, everyone's vibrato is different. Remember I said that? So mine is, hey! Yours might be, hey! Or, hey! Right? It might be wider or shorter in length, right? That's the first thing. So understand, you don't necessarily want to match Ken Tamplin's vibrato, okay? You want to match your vibrato. You just don't want it to be too fast and too caprino or too nervous sounding. Excuse me. The second thing is that when you go to do it, it's a process. Don't get discouraged if it takes you a minute to understand and grasp the concept. Work on it in your car. Work on it in places where you're alone. Practice this on its own for a while until you're able to kind of represent. And even you can, once you get it down, then you can even try different kind of, tremolo and wobbles and gospels or on trill and diaphragmatic and pharyngeal. You can try all these different kinds of vibratos to see how they feel in the throat so you can actually manipulate vibrato too for effect. Okay? Let's move on to actual exercises. Here we go.